hopefully this will be the new reality in Europe. I know that you guys in Germany have much more restrictions. You cannot do a lot of things that we do. For example, you're not allowed to move and shoot at the same time. I think you have restrictions on flashlights on firearms, maybe even with tactical gear, right? And essentially we stand for this because I also started with IPSC, IPSC, where they also have restrictions with like no camouflage clothing. You have to have everything sport-like with bright colors. And essentially what we did a 3-gun competition, or in this case in brutality 2-gun competition. So you use 2 different guns, a long gun and a pistol, a handgun. And you also have to do different kind of mind challenges where you have to think, where you have to do physical challenges where your heart rate goes up, but you also have to perform, you have to hit the targets, you have to move, and you have to do all of it safely. So it is a sport. And with Vršteleka doing their own brutality in Finland, now us doing Link's brutality in Slovenia, and hopefully with now with the brutality organization that we are opening in Europe, we'll get more countries on board. We'll have standardized rules, and we will try to kind of establish brutality matches in the same line as they would be IPSC. So it'll be a sport shooting competition, and I think it'll be a really good reason also then for new shooters to prove that they are valid for a firearm license. So hopefully we go in that direction. We are not extremists. We are not some people that are training to, I don't know, like to work against the government. Essentially, we are enjoying ourselves, and if you look at some of our videos of brutality matches, you will see that people that win these matches are really, really good, kind of, I would say, they have to be very good physical and in a very good physical and condition.
Psychological.
Yeah, psychological.
And he's not just saying that because he won Finnish brutality last time.
I am a very good sport shooter.
Okay, Ian, to follow one thing, because Ziga mentioned it, the gun safety thing with these events. That's also something we already talked about in Las Vegas, because you mentioned it, that's always and has to be always the first priority with every event we're doing, to promote the shooting sports also in a much brighter community. So also the people we want to attract to gaining interest in our hobbies and what we're doing. So can you just repeat, or can you just give us a little insight of what you're thinking about, okay, how important is the gun safety? Because, and what happens if we don't be like very, very keen on that?
Yeah, I mean, the shooting community, the firearms owning community is obviously a ready target for people who don't think it should exist at all. And so it's incumbent upon us to have safety standards and police them ourselves and ensure that what we are doing does not get anybody hurt. Like, we're already a target. We need to make sure that we never give an opportunity for shooting sports to be restricted because someone did something stupid that we should have prevented in the first place. That said, there is also a balance. There are some places where people adhere to the idea of firearm safety without really thinking about it logically, and they will extend many, many extra layers of rules and regulations in the name of safety that limit what you can actually do without actually being necessary for a safe and enjoyable competition. And I think that's where you get some of the restrictions on things like you can't shoot and move at the same time, because that would be unsafe. Well, it's not unsafe if it's a skill that you practice, if it's a skill that you develop, and if it's in a context that is designed to be done safely. So yes, we absolutely have to, safety always has to be our first priority. Nothing would shut down brutality faster than someone getting shot in a match. But you also have to be rational with your safety standards and balance the restrictions that you put on the shooters with the intent of the event.
And one thing I find very interesting, because Ziga mentioned that as well, everybody who's attending Links Brutality or Finnish Brutality, like at the moment, these are professional shooters, they know what they're doing. Do you see a chance that in the future these events can also be created for education and to getting people like into this segment more and more? Or do you think the brutality matches as they are right now are always there for the professionals who just want to compete and with their skills? Or do you see also an educational opportunity there?
So I think you've exhibited a perfect example of the firearms culture difference by referring to the idea of just professional shooters. Like in the United States, we have a few professional shooters, and we define them as the people who are paid by companies to sponsor to shoot competitions. But most of those professional shooters actually have day jobs, and they're professionally in some completely other field. I think brutality matches are entirely for the people who enjoy that specific sort of shooting, whether they're in the military or not.
Yeah, good point. So to make that clear, I meet people like me. As I was at Links Brutality this year, I wasn't able to shoot, I don't have a gun license, not yet. But do you think these events can play a role when it comes to, okay, we show you what we're doing, because right now I am an audience, I just look what you're doing. Do you think it can develop a more educational style when it comes to, okay, I explain to you what we do and why we do it and why we do it this way?
Both yes and no. A well-run, a well-designed brutality match is a difficult match. It's not a match for beginners. So I don't think there's that much opportunity. I don't think brutality would translate well into you've never fired a gun before and the first thing you do is go to a brutality match. That's not really the concept we have in mind.
That's true, but I would counter your point here, because at Links Brutality we had quite a lot of shooters that were nowhere near professionals. They were kind of new shooters, but what we require is a certain level of safety. And as long as you do things safely, it doesn't matter if you're less. And we had a lot of people that enjoyed themselves. They were nowhere near the top in the results, but they enjoyed themselves. They did everything safely, and it was a great time for them. But I agree also with Ian, brutality matches maybe not the first match you go to, because there's too much happening. It's hard to kind of do everything safely, because you also have to think about how to how to do something on the stage, remember some numbers, run there, load your rifle, do a lot of things, juggle around, but also do it safely. So I would not recommend it as a first match, but if someone is a shooter for a certain time, knows how to do stuff safely, sure, they can come to brutality, just go slow and go safely, and they will have a great time.
And also, I think also just viewing shows you, I mean, I got a very good example of how these events look like and how secure they are and how professional you're doing what you're doing. So I think maybe also only attending has his kind of educational touch.
One of the really cool things about Links Brutality is because of the range setup, they have essentially a firearms fair going on simultaneously right next to the range, which makes it a really good event for spectators. For people to show up, you can watch the shooting events. You have a really good televised system for showing, for broadcasting the people who are currently actually on the range shooting. There's food, there's drink, there are vendors. It's rare for firearms match to have an associated spectator-focused event like that.
On some stages it will be possible for spectators to actually be not next to the shooter, but behind the shooter, and see how they are shooting the stage in real time. And we are also planning we're planning a live stream, but on a next level, kind of as a sport event. So we're trying to get someone that will narrate everything. We will try to have scores on the big screen and everything. So we're trying to make this into a sport and show it as a sport. So even people at home can watch it directly live for free, wherever they are. And kind of we try to bring this in the same level as, for example, like racing with cars.
and you wouldn't do it if we weren't 100% sure that you don't have nothing to hide. And that's like
Exactly,
what we
yeah.
need the people to understand at home, the shooters, but also the ones who try to counter us in these events. That's we don't have something to hide. You
Well,
don't have
I would say it like this. In Europe, we have really good statistics regarding firearms because every country has to have the statistics log. And if you look at raw statistics, not something that someone tries to assemble with it, you will see that legal firearms and legal firearm owners are not a problem. There's almost no gun violence with legal guns. Everything that happens with guns is mostly it's illegal. We had a really bad wave of terrorism. There's so many problems where we are not included in that. But the European Firearm Directive was limiting just us, and I think it will be the same here. If someone from Germany sees our live stream and this shooting, they will see like, oh, they're extremists. But that's
the way to go. That's the way to go.
I really hope that with these kind of brutality matches getting more popular in Europe, we'll kind of try to move the boundary so people will see this as more normal. Oh, look, these are legal civilians with legal firearms, they are safe, they're enjoying themselves and they're competing, having a great time. And nobody gets hurt, so kind of this hopefully will be the next step.
One last question to you, Ziga, regarding links brutality, because I want to bring also a business side into this. As Ian mentioned, we do have the fair at brutality, but you do also have sponsors for the stages, you do have sponsors from Polymer Tactical. What do you think, why are these events also so interesting for the manufacturers and the retailers to not only sponsor, but also to attend? What do they hope that, who will they meet there? And why do you think they are on board? What do they like about it the most?
Well, I think this is an international issue with our industry. So everything that's connected with firearms, not just firearms, even magazines, air rifles, in some countries even airsoft. It's very limited. You are not able to, as a company, you're not able to advertise on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube. You are essentially banned. In Slovenia right now, we even have a problem with firearm companies right now because their bank accounts are getting closed. It's crazy. So, like IWA, the fair here, this is kind of a very bright spot in Europe. That
also banned on Instagram.
Yeah, but it's a thing where all of the manufacturers, all of the people from the industry can come there and show what they are doing. And the same is links brutality, because you have firearm lovers, you have firearm owners, you have people that are interested in this. They come to one spot, and you have manufacturers there or people from the industry. They can show, look, we have a new rifle. Oh, we are doing something with tactical equipment. Oh, this is this and this and this. So it's a good amalgamation of everyone in the industry, and for companies that's I guess very interesting because they can kind of advertise with this.
I would add to that, competition drives innovation and development. And when you have your customers actually using firearms or optics or other related gear in a competitive environment, it's a fantastic opportunity to see what works and what doesn't. And whether that's your company is producing the best equipment and you can show that, in a non-biased, like, look, we're not the ones advertising it, here's 3 different competitors showing how good our product is, or you can find out how your product needs to improve as a direct result of people attempting to do their very best with it. It's one thing to try and shoot well by yourself. You never recognize how much you suck until you're on the clock against other people. And
that's true. And also, this kind of any kind of competition where you have to use your equipment against time or try to score something, I think they sell kind of accessories and equipment the best, because when you are just alone in a range, you're training by yourself, you do not see the disadvantages of your gear. But if you come to a competition like this, you will see if you don't have a good holster, and for example, we had unfortunately one case last year, the holster kind of broke off, or I think just a screw was loose. He lost the pistol. It was unloaded, but because of our rules, it was a DQ.
Right.
So the guy unfortunately had to stop competing, had to go home. I bet you that he bought the best, amazing holster that he can for a lot of money, because now he knows that it's secure and it works. And it's with all of the equipment, it's like this. And for example, optics. You can buy a wide range of optics, and for example, for some your home range use, you can use something cheap, but you come to a brutality, and if you knock it and it stops working, you will have to search for something that has better performance and so on. So I think all of the competition, not just brutality matches, IPSC, IDPA, even precision shooting, they will drive, like you said, they drive development, and they also drive, I think, the, what is it?
A customer recognition of quality.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Okay, so as the time flies, I think that's a good finish to our discussion. And maybe we do have the time, if somebody of you has one question, I think we have the time to squeeze the question in. Any questions from the audience to Ian or Samuel on this topic? Mr. Downing, yeah.
Thanks. Why do you call it brutality? I mean, in English, and I'm English, okay? In English, brutality means extreme violence. Now, if I were setting up a new sporting shooting activity, I would not call it extremely violent, because that's not what we're about. We're about competition. Why do you call it brutality?
That's a very good question. Ian, should you start?
So we picked that name initially, first off, not expecting it would become a whole brand. It was going to be a one-time match. And we did that to highlight the physical difficulty of the stages that we were hoping to achieve. So it wasn't intended as brutal in terms of violence, but rather brutal in terms of difficult. You're going to come away from each stage of that match out of breath, sore, and probably having not shot nearly as well as you hoped you would. So that's what we were going for, and then the name kind of stuck because it's a catchy name, it's a memorable name.
English is not my first language, so is there a difference in the meaning brutality in US or UK English?
I think it's a question of interpretation. I think you can, but that shows just how different you can.
Because I never kind of conceived it as, that it means violence. I always thought it's brutal, that it's like really hard, really demanding.
That's how I interpret it.
But I think it just shows.
No, but that's a really good question.
Yeah, I think it just shows how we need to see it from an outside perspective. That's the issues we're facing from the ones who are like not knowing what you're doing or what we are doing. That are the questions they might have also, and that's where we need the answers for. So very good question, Mr. Long. Thank you.
Is there a way to get some information on how to train for the matches? Is there a rule book or something like that?
There isn't anything really specific key to that, but there is a lot of video content on many years of Finnish brutality, Lynx brutality, desert brutality. There are a lot of match videos available on the internet, and they generally do a pretty good job of showing what's involved. It's also a little difficult to have a universal training setup because each match has its own different flavor.
Because the point is, in Germany you need to have a Sportordnung, which means you have to have a rule book, so you can train officially for those events.
Well, we have established rules.
Yes.
And I just wanted to say specifically for brutality training, our friends AGX from France now made a whole video series on how to prepare for brutality. So they have the safety point of view. They have different kind of physical drills that prepare you for something that you can kind of do on the stage on the brutality. For example, the kettlebell throw and so on. So they do a really good job, and I think they also have even the training schedule and your eating schedule, everything set up. So they did a great job. We are sharing some of their videos on Instagram now, but I would say that the best way, if you really want to attend brutality, would be just to look at the past year's videos. You can see what's the kind of how that works, what are the stages, but if you want to read specifically the rules, we have them on our website, and rules don't really change. So those basic safety rules are kind of stay the same, so that kind of prepares you.
Do we have the time for the questions? Because if not, I think that
Let's do one quick one.
A quick one, but also Ziga and Ian will be around after the presentation here. So if you have questions to them, I think they will have 5 or 10 minutes of time.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Okay, then we do the last quick one.
Thank you very much. Now with Finnish brutality and Links brutality, we have two major events in Europe. And are there any plans to expand this concept to other European countries? Because I think it would really help the cause in some sort of franchising the concept. Thank you.
I was actually just talking to a French gentleman half an hour ago who wants to set one up. Yes, we're very interested in expanding brutality matches across Europe. As Ziga said, we would love to see this as a European-wide recognized sport shooting association that will be a good way for people in many other countries to get, say, Category D licenses in places where that's difficult right now, like France. So, yes.
First step is already made. We have the organization almost set up.
Yes.
We have the name trademark by Vršteleka, and essentially what we are doing right now is we are trying to get basic rules set together and also instructions how to do a brutality match. But one thing that we discussed, if someone wants to make a brutality match in Europe, we will kind of have to be involved and see that it's on a certain level before they can call it a brutality.
Yeah.
That's the only kind of limitation, but I think it will be kind of free, so we'll not charge money for people to use the name.
Right.
So essentially our goal is to spread to as many European countries as possible and make it a proper sport shooting organization.
Yeah, we want to maintain the feel and the style, and as long as other matches match that style and feel, we would love to see as many as possible. My biggest recommendation for someone who wants to set one up in your own home country or area would be to attend one of the Links or Finnish brutality matches. Because really, being at the match and experiencing it is the best way to understand exactly what sort of what sort of feel we're looking for.
Okay. So I saw the two questions, but as I said, Ian and Ziga will be around in the back side of the stage, so you will have the time to ask them. Thank you, Ian, for your time. Thank you, Ziga. Thank you so much for your expertise in this specific topic, and thank you for showing us the world of Links and Finnish brutality and give us these insights. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
And I hope you enjoyed it. And I think the next one are already live. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.